Alright guys, Scrappy again. I hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. Some Black Ops 7 updates are flying around, but also big rumours as to what these rosters are going to be like next season. The Gentlemates team has been causing quite some drama, similar to last year's LA Thieves in some sense, but with different players and certainly with different personalities. Mercules is of the opinion, looking at that roster on paper, that yes, they might have some talent, but he does not expect things to be all smooth sailing behind the scenes with that organisation again. What's going to happen when they hit the server? Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comments. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I greatly appreciate it. Bit more discussion here on the COD film that is, well, we don't even know when it's coming out to when it's even being filmed. Just a couple of things. Major Maniac officially retired from competitive Call of Duty over the last few weeks. Big name player, right? One of Formal's favourite ever players because, you know, it's never chalked, right? That's Major Maniac's whole thing. And a very solid player in even before the Call of Duty League came around on teams like Gen G, and then when it did, the success that he had with FaZe early doors, and then even keeping him, you know, self very relevant on Minnesota Rocker, winning that remarkable 4-0 comeback against Toronto famously, then spending a bit of time on Florida, and you know, now he's called it a day. Coaching, I think, is what he's potentially looking to do. He's definitely talked about that as an option. So, you know, wishing him the best because I think he would make a lot of sense in that regard. Excellent search and destroy player historically as well. Simp hits the retweet on this. Couple of thoughts on Black Ops 7 real quick. So, Zuma was talking about BO3 and wall running, and like, I'm not going to get into it here on my opinion on that. You guys know my take on BO3. I don't need to say it again, but yeah, Zuma was like, oh, it's cheese and all this, probably because he didn't win anything on Black Ops 3, but whatever, who am I to say?
Perfect. Black Ops 2 is just the perfect game. All right, some people say skill gap in Black Ops 3. All right, let me paint you a picture. This is why I hate it. There's no skill gap in this, guys. There's a doorway, okay? Boom, there's a door, right? This is outside, okay? You got corner 1, you got corner 2, right? When you come out, and then plus you got your peripherals, you got everything out here, right? If there's a Paisan that's up here, just wall running back here, back and forth, jump, wall run, just doing it. There's no skill gap in doing that. But if you go out, what? Now when you go through doorways, you got to look straight up. When you go through doorways, you got to look straight up. But there is absolute... It literally is the most cheesiest fucking thing ever. It's the cheesiest shit ever, bro. You know what I'm saying? You ruin skill gap. Oh, here we go. Oh, here. Guys, another thing we're raw running, another thing,
Now, Black Ops 7, that's the big conversation coming next. We're talking a lot about the maps in the new game. Are they going to be any good? What are the remasters going to be? That's the key point. Black Ops 6 was a solid game, but the maps definitely left something to be desired. Now, Matt Scronce, one of the big guys over at Treyarch now, I mean, he has been for some time, but he's still over there, right? So, Exclusive Ace was talking about a few things, and Matt Scronce clarified on the maps and said, out of the 16 6v6 launch maps, 4 of those are smaller and support those modes. So, here we go again. With some, and some former favourite maps coming in post-launch, a change we've made for BO7 is to try to make sure those smaller maps can support score streaks so they work for more playlists. One question with that, does it mean it's a unified map pool and all of those small maps will also be in regular core 6v6 modes? Not necessarily all of them, but the goal is that more can be supported when it comes down to aerial access for score streaks. We don't want to force it either way if the team has a cool idea that can't support it. So, you guys remember in Cold War when we had those strike maps? There was Crossroads Strike, and that was a pretty small map, but it did play actually pretty well for 4 versus 4 competitive. And then there was the bigger, just like Crossroads, which was basically a ground war map. But it now seems like Treyarch and the other developers are really fascinated with the TikTok generation. That's the way that I see it anyway, because they're looking at these maps, and they've definitely done this over the last few years. You guys remember COD Ghosts, when the maps were just absolutely immense for no good reason, and they went way too far the other way? In recent games, they've done the opposite, where they're like, how can we make the map smaller and more action-packed and more dopamine-filled, and there's no thought, it's just run and die again and again and again. And it feels like that is a direction that is coming down from the top, I don't know, and some of these maps, they're designing them. I mean, how can you make 4 6v6 maps which are viable for, like, gunfight, where there's, like, 4, you know, couple of guys 1v1 on the map, right? 2v2. You know, that is just going to be shipment, right? Like, it's going to be very small. and not going to be viable for competitive, right? Like, if you're going to give me a map which is apparently 6v6, but actually can support gunfight, then it's not going to work for 4v4 competitive. So I think within reason, we can look at those 16 launch maps and say that 4 of them are probably chalked already in terms of being relevant for competitive play, and then obviously that does include some of the old school maps they're bringing back. Hijacked is unlikely to be played in competitive. Raid will be, Express will be for search and destroy. But already you're looking at the map pool, you're thinking, oh, well, you know, here we go again. I will say pretty nice positive that, as he says, there will be some new maps coming post-launch. There will be some former favourites as well. But, you know, he does almost kind of throw that into the same category as, like, maps that can support these other modes. So we'll see what they cook up. But, you know, the maps are just the most important thing in the new game. They got to get it right. Right now, there's some questions whether that's going to be happening or not. Also, another clip I wanted to share, I thought was pretty funny, was from the pros talking about a stat that fans should be thinking more about, and a lot of them are like, oh, the fans only think about KD and all this, and I'm like, okay, some of the fans probably do, but I think nowadays most fans recognise there is a bit more to it than KD. The pros are talking a lot about damage. I actually think damage is a bit of a fraudulent stat. Like, it gives you good indication of pace and stuff, but also, you know, I could just be shooting someone for no good reason. Like, I could be taking pot shots. Let's say in Search and Destroy. I think damage in Search and Destroy is a fraudulent stat. In Respawns, it's acceptable, but in Search and Destroy, I can be in a 1v1. I can pepper a guy up. Maybe I shouldn't have shot at him, right? Because he was going to see where I was. But I'm like, oh, I'll try and get the kill, pepper him up, do 75 damage, he regens. Then we get into another gunfight, I pepper him up again, he backs down. All of a sudden, I've racked up like 400 damage that round, and I've done nothing, right? But then you look at the scoreboard, and it's like, damn, this guy was frying, man. Why is his teammates not getting his trades? I think in Respawns, damage is a pretty good stat. In Search and Destroy, I'm less convinced. I think personally, the stat that I like is winning. I think that's a pretty good stat, right? I think a lot of these pros need to be thinking about that. I find it funny that Wake's talking about KD, just because, like, not to say anything against Wake, but it's pretty funny because historically Awakening has been considered like the KD guy, right? So for him to say, oh, KD's overrated as a stat, I thought was pretty funny, although not necessarily unreasonable. And yeah, I just think win percentage is a pretty good stat, and some of these guys have to figure out how to get more win percentages rather than getting more stats so they keep their spots. But that, of course, another conversation, so I'll share that clip alongside what Mercules had to say on this new roster. Not been confirmed, at least as a recording, but Ghosty, Neptune, Sib, Envoy, that is the rumour new team. And as you guys can see, Thieves and Envoy, or Thieves and Thieves, from Envoy and Ghosty respectively, on the Thieves roster last season. Ghosty was there for a couple of seasons, now we think he's not going to be there anymore. So it is effectively minus HyDra plus Neptune, minus Scrap plus Sib. That is the team, and if you look at it on paper, you do the calculations, you run the numbers, you say, well, is Sib Scrap? No. But is he a million miles away? Not necessarily. And Neptune was pretty damn good this season as well. So you're looking at the Gentlemates team, you're saying, okay, is it like an event winning team? Maybe not, but could they make a finals? I think for sure, right, on paper. And if you can make a finals, you can win. I suppose that is a fair way to look at it. So not like this team has no potential. Clearly there is a lot of potential there, but there have been some concerns. And look, if I'm forming a roster, would I prefer to form a team that has potential but also risk, rather than form a team which has no potential but little risk? You know, I'd prefer the former, right? Like, if I'm trying to build a roster, I want to take some risks to try and win, rather than form a boring team that's like, oh, they're just going to be 8th every event, and maybe we make champs, right? Like, it's better to either crash and burn, like, I don't know, go out with a blaze of glory or whatever, and potentially have the chance to absolutely win at the top level. So Octane and Zuma, I remember this clip from Octane especially, I think Zuma also echoed a similar assessment though, that this team is good on paper, but when you think about the personalities, the way that Ghosty might work with Sib, the way that Neptune might get involved there, how that's going to work with all of the relationships involved, it's a bit of a question mark. I've said it before, I think they need a new coach. The OpTic guys, it seems, echo a similar assessment.
I think the only stat I feel like that no one talks about enough is
damage or first bloods in search.
Like average damage dealt. I feel like that's a really good stat to kind of just see how someone is pace-wise and see if they're actually just shooting their gun on the map.
I think just KD isn't Like, is he relevant? I think stats are overgassed, like just KD way too much.
I think one stat, but I don't really know how you'd measure it, is the first person to die every time a team is in a good position. That'd be a phenomenal stat if you could nail that one down. See who's trolling the team in setups.
At the end of the day, like, the game is very team-oriented, so there's a lot of things that won't show up in the stat sheet that are actually contributing to the win.
I think stats are important, but there's also way more to it. Like, there's some people who get good stats that don't, like I said, facilitate their teammates at all or do the right things on the maps. You gotta always take it with a grain of salt and watch what people are doing on the map.
What do you guys think from
what's going on with G2?
Yeah, I don't know. No one knows the last bottom, like the bottom like 6 teams.
Austin just got the keys to the Ravens.
Still got the keys, huh?
I think. I don't know.
I seen Zuma say something about personality. I look-y agree. Like this team,
Which one?
G2, like all their personalities on the same team.
It's one guy.
Gentlemates?
Oh yeah, Gentlemates. Oh yeah, my bad. Not G2.
That is a weird roster, actually. What the fuck?
Zuma was like, their personalities are about to be clashing. I was like,
I mean, I only really know Envoy, but I don't know. It's a weird roster.
They just need a good coach, bro. Who's their coach? Gentlemen, it's fucking, was it Marky B? Or no, it was D-Real, right?
Yeah, D-Real.
I thought that was for G2 Vios. I could be wrong though.
I know D-Real for sure. But...
Oh shit, okay, Vios.
I don't even
you
know who this is, bro.
Yeah, he was a challenger coach this year.
He coached you?
Nah, he coached a Timor.
Why you say it like that?
What? Why'd I say like what?
Wait, does coaches matter in Halo or not? I'm actually curious.
What did you say? What did you say?
Coaches matter in Halo?
I mean, yeah, they're on stage with you like the whole time.
No, they matter.
They actually matter. Like, there's actually better coaches than other stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I swear, every single time I hear about coaches, I just hear checky shit.
So Mercules not backing down on his opinion here. He reckons, looking at that roster, he's not so sure that it's going to go to plan. He thinks, you know, from a team chemistry perspective, it could get kind of weird. The personalities could get pretty interesting. As I've said before, I do think there's a lot of relevance to who the coach is. They discuss VOs, who is like the general manager over there. He's the team manager. He's like the top guy for that organization now, making some of the top decisions. But I don't think he's going to be the coach directly. He may be, but there were rumors. Now, I don't know if these rumors are founded at all, because I kind of just made them up, but like, well, I wasn't starting a rumor, but I started talking about Rambo, right? Because to me, it just makes sense. Like, Gentlemate's French organization, Rambo speaks French, he's coming off Surge, he just had lots of success, he's coached Neptune. Like, if I'm Gentlemate, surely I'm trying to get Rambo, right? Like, it's surely a bit of a no-brainer. That's what I'd be thinking about. And I know that some people have now started to discuss that as a rumor, maybe because there actually are rumors about that, or maybe just because it makes sense that people are talking about it. I'm not really sure what's which, really. But if you're Gentlemates and you're paying good money to get these guys, which clearly they are, you can probably pay Rambo a good bag as well, because I think they might well need him. But intrigued to your thoughts on that in the comments. Just one other thing I thought was pretty fascinating. Best teams to not win the Call of Duty World Championship. Who choked the biggest tournament the most, or the worst, or whatever you want to say. So here's the graphic. It's pretty beautiful. Shout out Lion Man. And this is what you find. The OpTic team with nade shots that won 3 events leading into the World Championship in Advanced Warfare that didn't win it. The OpTic team with Karma in Black Ops 3 that won 5 events and didn't win the World Championship. That might be the answer. I mean, Team Caliber in 2018, even Rise, like, those were the 2 heavy favourites for that tournament. Rise didn't even come close in the ends to winning it. They got knocked out very early on. So they're certainly up there in the conversation. Thieves were really good in 2019. But again, it's an interesting one, right? Because in Thieves' case, in Team Caliber's case, they came very close. They made the finals and lost to what turned out to be the best team at the tournament. Whereas in OpTic's case, you know, they were expected to win it, or at least be in the finals, and then they were out top 8, right? So I think there's a bit of a different discussion to be had there. You know, FaZe obviously in Modern Warfare 19, but they were in the finals. Toronto were very good in Cold War. FaZe last year, Thieves this year as well. So, you know, I think maybe Thieves this year is a decent shout. Depends the way you think about it, right? Because, you know, I think the best teams to not win champs conversation is definitely valid for like all of these teams, of course. But the most disappointing result still probably has to go to the Dynasty until they did eventually win it. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all of this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.